They were just musicians trying to make a living, but one private gig led them into a deadly trap, one that ended in fire, silence, and fear. Today we're counting down the 10 chilling facts about the Grupo Fugitivo case, one of the most haunting real-life tragedies in recent Mexican music history. Stick around till number 1, because the last unanswered question might change the way you see this case forever. Shoe 10, the bar that became their final stage. On May 25th, 2025, Grupo Fugitivo performed what seemed like a normal gig at La Chinita, a modest bar located in one of Reynosa's busiest neighborhoods. The group, composed of Francisco Vasquez, Nemesio Duran, Livan Solis de la Rosa, Victor Garza, and Jose Francisco Morales, had built a loyal following playing traditional norteño and corrido music. That night, the atmosphere was lively. Locals danced, drank, and sang along to songs they knew by heart. It was a full house, with dozens of people recording the performance on their phones, now some of the last living images of the group together. Despite the joyful setting, some witnesses later recalled strange details. A few unfamiliar men near the entrance, watching quietly, not drinking, not clapping. At the time, no one thought much of it. The performance wrapped up around midnight. The band thanked the crowd, packed up their equipment, and were approached by someone offering a private gig. Good pay, no delays, cash in hand. They accepted. No one there knew it yet, but the bar that night had hosted not a celebration, but a farewell. Number 9, the private event that didn't exist. Just minutes after their final performance at La Chinita, the members of Grupo Fugitivo were approached by an unknown man with a tempting proposal. A private event, nearby, well paid, and starting immediately. The offer was simple. No contracts, no middlemen, just quick cash for a short set. The location? A zone known as Riberas del Rio on the outskirts of Reynosa. The group had done private gigs before. It wasn't unusual in the regional music scene. Last-minute shows were often part of the hustle, but what no one realized was that this particular event came with no name, no client, and no clear purpose. The musicians loaded their gear and left in a white Chevrolet Suburban, unaware that they were driving toward a trap. Witnesses later said the group appeared relaxed and in good spirits as they pulled out of the parking lot, waving to acquaintances and bar staff. But when they reached the supposed location, nothing was there. No lights, no people, no music, just an empty, desolate stretch of dirt road in a quiet part of Riberas del Rio. And then silence. There was no contact after that moment. Calls went unanswered. Messages were left unread, then stopped delivering. Within hours, Grupo Fugitivo had vanished. What was sold as a party turned out to be something else entirely, an ambush in disguise. Number 8, the lead singer who survived by being late. Carlos Omar Hernandez, one of Grupo Fugitivo's lead vocalists, was supposed to be with the others that night. But fate and a simple delay changed everything. He had stayed behind briefly after the show, chatting with friends outside La Chinita and helping a relative with transportation. By the time he was ready to leave, his bandmates were already on the road. Determined not to miss the extra gig, Carlos followed their location using a dropped pin on his phone. But when he reached the spot in Riberas del Rio, something didn't feel right. The street was pitch dark. No party, no people, no sound, only the hum of distant traffic and the unsettling stillness of an empty lot. Carlos drove slowly, scanned the area, and waited a few minutes, thinking perhaps he had the wrong address. He called, no answer. He messaged, no response. Suddenly that sinking feeling hit him. Something was wrong. Trusting his gut, Carlos turned around and left. He didn't know it yet, but that single decision, driven by instinct, had just saved his life. By morning, he was the only member of Grupo Fugitivo still unaccounted for. But unlike the others, he was alive, and his confusion quickly turned to horror when he realized that none of his friends had made it home. Carlos would later be the one to alert families, police, and media. His survival wasn't just a miracle, it became the key to uncovering what little is known about the group's final moments. Number 7, a grisly discovery in a remote field. On May 29, 2025, 4 days after Grupo Fugitivo vanished, residents near a rural road in the Ejido Las Cumbres area just outside Reynosa noticed thick black smoke rising from behind a line of mesquite trees. At first, they thought it was just another brush fire, common in the summer heat. But as the flames died down, what remained was far more disturbing. Authorities were called to the scene. What they found was a Chevrolet Suburban almost completely destroyed by fire. Inside the scorched vehicle were 5 human bodies, so severely burned that they were nearly indistinguishable. No identification, no signs of life, just a metal shell filled with ashes and horror. It took forensic teams hours to carefully recover what little remained. The heat had erased nearly every trace of evidence. No phones, no instruments, no personal items survived. The bodies had to be identified through DNA testing and dental records. Days later, it was confirmed. The victims were the missing members of Grupo Fugitivo. Even more unsettling was the location. Isolated, quiet, and miles from the city. Whoever led them there knew the area well and clearly intended for them not to be found, or if they were, to be unrecognizable. To this day, investigators have not disclosed whether the musicians were already dead before the fire or if they were burned alive. That silence, that possibility is what continues to haunt their families and the nation. Number 6, the Cartel connection, Los Metros. Following the grim discovery of the burned remains, law enforcement launched a swift investigation that led to the arrest of 9 suspects. All were reportedly connected to Los Metros, one of the most violent and secretive cells of the Gulf Cartel, a group notorious for controlling vast parts of northeastern Mexico through fear and brutal tactics. Despite the arrest, the case quickly grew colder. None of the detainees confessed to involvement in the massacre, and no clear motive was ever officially stated. Authorities claimed the suspects were implicated based on intercepted communications and witness testimonies, but these details remained sealed or vague. And this silence only fueled rumors and conspiracy theories. Some insiders whispered that the killings were meant as a warning, possibly for refusing to cooperate with the cartel, or as retaliation for something nobody outside the criminal world fully understands. Families and the public were left with more questions than answers. Was Grupo Fugitivo targeted because of mistaken identity, cartel politics, or something even darker? Without confessions or solid evidence, the truth remained locked behind the veil of silence that cloaks Mexico's drug war. 5. The families who demand the truth. As the investigation unfolded, the families of Grupo Fugitivo's members found themselves trapped in a painful battle. Not just with grief, but with frustration and suspicion. They publicly accused local authorities of moving too slowly, withholding critical information, and at times even giving conflicting statements about what had really happened. In press conferences and social media posts, relatives shared their doubts about the official timeline, pointing out inconsistencies between witness reports and police findings. They demanded independent DNA testing to confirm the identities of the victims, worried that mistakes, or worse, had been made in the rush to close the case. Many families also raised concerns about possible corruption, suggesting that cartel influence might have compromised the investigation from the start. Some even claimed that authorities tried to pressure them into silence, a tactic not unheard of in regions controlled by organized crime. Their fight for transparency became a rallying cry for Reynosa's community, shining a harsh light on the deep mistrust between citizens and those sworn to protect them. For the families, justice felt far away, and the truth remained elusive. 4. Why target a music group? One of the most perplexing aspects of the Grupo Fugitivo case is the question, why them? None of the victims had any known ties to organized crime, no reported threats, and no public disputes. They were simply local musicians, beloved by their community, playing traditional norteño music to earn a living. So why were they lured to a fake party, ambushed and brutally murdered? Some theories suggest mistaken identity. Perhaps the cartel was aiming for someone else, and Grupo Fugitivo got caught in the crossfire. Others speculate it was a deliberate setup, a warning sent to a rival group, or a message to locals who dared to resist. But the most disturbing idea is that the musicians were targeted simply because they refused to play for the cartel or had spoken out in some way. In parts of Mexico, the lines between art and survival blur, and music can become dangerous. No official explanation has ever been confirmed. The silence surrounding the motive deepens the tragedy and leaves everyone wondering, was this a cruel mistake or something far darker? Thread 3. Reynosa, a city where music can be deadly. Reynosa, Tamaulipas, a city known for its vibrant culture and love of music, is also a place where danger lurks behind the melodies. In this border city, nestled between Mexico and the United States, the shadow of organized crime stretches deep into everyday life. For many musicians, the threat is real and constant. Some have been coerced into performing at cartel events, forced to sing praises for drug lords and gang leaders under threat of violence. Others who refuse face brutal consequences, disappearances, threats, or worse. Grupo Fugitivo wasn't the first band to fall victim to this grim reality, nor were they likely to be the last. Their case fits into a chilling pattern of artists caught in the crossfire of criminal power plays, where refusing to cooperate or being in the wrong place at the wrong time can mean death. In a city where music is meant to bring joy, it sometimes becomes a death sentence. Thread 2. The Last Messages. In the days leading up to the disappearance, some family members of Grupo Fugitivo received brief, cryptic messages from their loved ones. Texts filled with vague warnings, strange pauses, or sudden silence. Nothing concrete, no direct threats, but enough to send chills down their spines. A few messages hinted at unease. Phrases like, "Things don't feel right," or "I need to be careful tonight," were whispered through their phones, but cut short before any explanation could come. Friends and relatives later said the musician seemed distracted, nervous even, but insisted everything was fine until they vanished. These last messages remain a haunting puzzle. They suggest the group sensed danger looming, but were trapped by circumstances they couldn't escape or explain, and to this day, no one knows what exactly they feared in those final moments. Number 1. The setup theory. Every detail of Grupo Fugitivo's disappearance points to a cruelly planned trap. The fake party, the exact location in Riberas del Rio, the urgent timing designed to keep them off guard. This was no random act. It was a premeditated ambush. Yet what makes this case truly chilling is what remains unknown. No group has ever stepped forward to claim responsibility. No clear motive has been revealed by authorities or insiders. The silence is deafening. Was this a warning sent to others? A message hidden in blood and fire? Or an act meant to erase a group that unknowingly crossed dangerous lines? The truth behind Grupo Fugitivo as fate is a dark enigma, one that haunts Reynosa and echoes far beyond its borders. 5 musicians walked into a setup and never came back. One survived by chance. But the real question remains, who wanted them gone and why? If you believe there's more to this story, drop your theory in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe. We dig deeper into the real cases the world can ignore.